Before we start, if you don't know what an iceberg video is, basically we have this huge list of topics separated into an iceberg kind of like map. At the top, we have the more known, not very interesting topics. But as we get lower, we get to the less known, more interesting, and just wild topics. A hallway parkour is basically just a linear parkour course. Once you reach the end of the hallway, hence the name, you do a 180 onto another hallway to do more. They've been around since forever and most likely won't go anytime soon. What's interesting though is that the players who play them aren't really big housing players. They're either just checking out housing for the first time and they come across one, or they need background footage for a video just like this one. A trick that hallway creators use is actually starting off by having really easy and simple jumps to hook the player in to keep them playing till the end. Cookies in hypixel housing are pretty much a meaningless stat that all hypixel players have. Guests in your house can give a cookie or up to 25 based on their rank. MVP Plus, I think, or MVP Plus Plus actually having 6 cookies, and the 25 cookies coming from U2 or admin rank. Besides showing up in the scoreboard in the housing lobby, having a higher position on the weekly cookie category on the browser, and being on the leaderboards, cookies don't really do anything. Something to note is that game masters don't get their own cookies, and when mods and helpers were a thing, they also did not get their own cookies. However, admins and YouTubers do, and that again is where the 25 cookies comes in. Back when housing first came out, he was a really big source of pretty much everything. Now, he's not used for much, as the housing menu gives you access to what you can do with him and more. Some fun facts about the Carpenter is that he had his own forum profile as a teaser to the upcoming release of Housing back in 2015, and that the delivery man is his cousin. Simulators go back to even before Housing. The introduction of conditionals really actually brought them into Housing. They're mostly repetitive with semi-grindy mechanics, and I'm no help to this. For a bit, you could actually have an infinite amount of housing slots. An exploit related to the slash home command basically created a new house every time, and if you kept on doing this, you would have an infinite amount of houses. For a while, you could see the very many houses that people had in their visit menu, but when the purchasable slots were increased in the Teams update, this changed how the menu worked and wouldn't show every single house. People were pretty upset by this, but it was a matter of time before the glitch was patched. The YouTube rank has unique features on housing that most people might not know. The most known one, however, is that YouTube Rank has access to setting a password on a house, as well as unique themes. These themes, however, have pre-built houses inside of them. And I don't mean like a Fallout parkour course or simulator, but like actual houses, which is what housing was for originally. These were also made before all the fancy stuff that housing has now, so they're pretty old. YouTubers also have access to all furniture, which I didn't know until I was doing research for this video. There's a good chance that you've actually seen a hallway parkour on TikTok or YouTube. That's the reason why this is a category. And they're also used in the background of a ton of videos, including this one. Originally in housing, when it came out, you had to talk to the carpenter to get blocks, and blocks actually needed to be purchased, and there was no creative mode at the time. Thank goodness this isn't still how it works, and everything is available for free now. The housing API was something the community has wanted for a long time, something that will let us view information about a house or just housing via external tools would allow us to make some pretty sick stuff. It was recently where Hypixel finally added an official API. Previous to that, people would have bots that go to random houses and log the data. This was done for the website housing.menu, but due to the new API, this is not how it's done anymore. It's possible to actually spawn mobs in housing. Now, it's not intentional by any means, but there's been multiple methods in the past, and there still is possible, and it still is very much so possible today. A bit ago, if you had breedable pets, like a sheep or pig, you could spawn them, assuming that you had the collectible permission in a house, and using whatever food you would use to breed them, you could create baby, sheep, chickens, pigs, oh my god, and cows. You could also cure a zombie villager to get a villager, but the villager couldn't be used, and like the trading menu didn't pop up, which kind of stunk. But it was still very cool. Today, there's actually still methods you can use to spawn mobs. You've most definitely seen this house before if you've ever been on Housing. It's called PvP Hangout and always has a good amount of people on it. Most players are pretty unique, and while I won't show anything in this video, there's been some weird stuff that have happened in both the house and Discord server associated with it. And allegedly. The YouTuber Tommy Innit hosted a talent show held in Housing a long time ago. The house to this day is almost always on the first or second page of the guest list for some random reason, and there's not really much more to say about it. It hasn't been updated or modified in years, unless you count exploits or glitches that have happened on the house. Nuking in a house has been a thing for a long time, but recently regained popularity. People with a hack client basically break large amount of blocks from even people with a hack client basically break large amounts of blocks far away from them, which is really hard to detect and can be very annoying for free build owners. And these really only happen in free build houses. Recently, there was a silent patch to help counter these, but it can still be done, just not as much. I mean, it still can be done, and it's also affecting actual houses. The Mixer head was available when the streaming platform Mixer by Microsoft was still a thing. However, Mixer didn't really end up going very far and shut down a little bit ago. With the shutdown, the Mixer head was removed from Housing, and I'm pretty sure just Hypixel in general. However, you can actually still get this head today through people who already had it, and I have created a mod that lets you get it, which is not open yet. And it still has some functionality, which is kind of interesting because it's removed. I don't know why you can still interact with it, but I mean, it's there. There's a ton of furniture sets in IKEA that have been left there for a long time. I have no clue if they have plans for these in the future or if they will ever be coming, but they're there and they look like functional. I don't really know why they're not a thing. You can indeed kill the carpenter. If you have illegal splash potions through either, I think it was the 1.12 inventory toolbar thing, or from some other exploit I don't know about, you can actually kill the carpenter as seen in the footage on screen. Illegal item stocks are items that have a higher stack amount than normal. For example, an ender pearl stacked to 64 instead of 16, or stacked diamond swords, which both are just not possible. The way these are done was through a overstacking or understacking exploit or bug from a bit ago. The privilege escalation bug is a bug that gives users higher permissions on another player's house. An example of this could be someone getting admin or moderator group, letting them grief or alter stuff about the house. I was actually hit with this a bit ago where someone changed the name of my house. Originally, this exploit was actually called the role transfer, and so far at least, this exploit has existed a total of 3 different times. But in reality, it's just a visual glitch. There's no privilege escalation bug. The item transfer bug allowed users to transfer items from one house to another. The only time I actually saw this happen, or really first heard about it, was in Rice Farmer 11's pit house. He was a really big target for this, as one, he was a YouTuber, and the house was very PvP based, so meaning getting a super OP sword with like sharpness 10 was super crazy broken and overpowered. The way this always works is having a house match a mini server to the house that you're targeting, so I think there might have been other methods for this. This has happened over 10 different times, but the main target for these is pretty much always Tommy and its house. The topic was suggested to me a few times, but I never found anything about it. I was informed while doing research for this that it was just a rumor made up around 2018 to 2019. Similar to the last one, this is something else that I couldn't really find anything about. Either it was a rumor that was spread around, or something that happened for a short period of time where not much info came out about it. However, this might also be related to the idea where people would save house builds with a Schematica related mod. Command blocks were at one point possible to get in Housing. I think this was because of the 1.12 inventory toolbar layout thing. It might have been for another reason, but they cannot be used because 1, you're not an operator in the server, and 2, the Housing servers most likely have command blocks disabled. This was fixed, and a blacklist was added for them within a few hours of being able to get them. There are definitely still ways to crash houses, even though a lot of the easier ways have been patched. Also, when I was doing research for this, someone actually showed me a crash exploit, so they're definitely still possible. But this category is just because houses crash. Whether it's actually someone being malicious, which is definitely possible, someone abusing some sort of glitch that crashes the house, or just completely randomly, which does happen. I'd like to thank the people on screen for either helping me get information about the specific topics or suggesting topics to be in the video.